Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Poz. With me today is a very, very, very special guest. Some consider him to be the GOAT, the greatest of all time. I know I do. He is a 16-time former world heavyweight champion, two-time WWE Hall of Famer. He is the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Mr. Flair, how you doing? What's going on today, sir?
How are you?
Doing
Well,
good. And of course,
I'm sorry. I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having us on the show.
yes, and of course, Kelly and James also from the Ric Flair comic. How you guys doing?
Great, great. Thanks for having us, John.
Yes, thank you.
So, Nate, what's going on in your world? I know you're keeping very, very busy, obviously, with the comic and with your last match.
Yeah, at the last match, actually, James and Kelly have been doing a lot more of the comic than I have because I've had to travel a little bit and to have some family stuff, a wedding, and then my granddaughter's graduation. So they've been holding the fort down, but we're all back together now. And then I'm training for that match I have in Nashville, the 31st of July. So, and that's basically we're hoping to really kick this thing to a whole new level. But we're, putting the components together now.
Any idea who the opponent or opponents will be?
No, we're sold out without opponents yet.
Wow. Anybody in mind you'd like to wrestle?
Yeah, but I can't tell you.
Oh, okay.
Remember, read the comic. I'm a secret agent, man.
Yes. Yes. That's pretty cool, though.
Only I know. Even these two don't know.
No?
That's pretty cool, though, in the comic. Like the plane crash, what if something else happened, right? I mean, what if you passed away and they turned you into a secret agent? But tell us a little bit about the comics. That's so cool.
Well, it started. We started putting it together 2 years ago. James and then a gentleman who decided to not be involved anymore. And then I asked Kelly because she liked it and took interest in it. She wanted to put the money into it, and she jumped right in. So now we're partners. And there's, which is always better to have an equity position in something that, especially if you've got, and then Kelly has a lot of sweat equity in it alone. So probably more than I do because she's can do all this stuff electronically that I can't. So, and then of course James is the guy that put it. As actually Kelly and I have sat down with him to learn more about it. I've been to 1,000 Comic-Cons over the years, and I happened to be a couple that Stan Lee was at before he passed away, and I couldn't get over it. I mean, you know what Comic-Cons are? It's like when what's the Quinn girl?
Harley Quinn?
Yeah, when that movie came out.
Yeah.
Go to a Comic-Con, there'd be 1,000 girls dressed up like Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it'd be 100,000 people over a 3-day period, and there'd be 10,000 Harley Quinns. I'm not kidding you. I mean, it's unreal. So like Stan Lee had these incredible lines. Adam West with Batman. I mean, and I didn't understand the comic book world, but I have friends that now that I'm part of it, I kind of, when you're part of something, you pick up on conversations that normally you wouldn't. And then it's fun to hear, but there's a huge faction in the United States of people all over the world that like comic books. So we think that James, Kelly and I think that James has put together something real special. It's easy to tell stories about me. My life is a little different.
And I always thought there was a huge like running parallel, the comic book world and the wrestling world, because really the wrestling world is the comic book world, come alive. And obviously growing up loving wrestling and Rick, and he's one of the most interesting wrestlers ever, traveling the world back in the 70s and 80s, going from territory to territory, defending, and all the stories that I read here on podcasts like yours or shows like yours. And now getting to talk to Rick and finding out some of those stories. And it's just like, it'd be so cool to do. We compare it to like Big Fish. Have you ever seen that movie, John? Big Fish?
Yes. Yep.
Like what's fact, what's fiction? A lot of it is fact. And he very well could be a secret agent. I'm not fully convinced.
I could be.
Yeah. Like Kelly and I, we
it may not be resolved until the day I die and they open up the box.
Yeah.
Hey,
there's so, and
true.
I have to give props to the artist, Rafael Loureiro. He's a Brazilian, and he's just so talented. And if you have seen the comic, you can just, I mean, his likeness of Rick and the events and his action sequences are just absolutely incredible. I think this is one of the best, as far as art goes, comics that I've seen, whether it's wrestling or not wrestling. And it's just really fun. And the whole thing kind of, it's an honor to have met Rick and now to be in business with him. And to do this comic is just like he said earlier, it's like 2 years and finally it's finally happening. So it's very exciting. And then Kelly, her and I are going to be pounding the pavement, selling the comic, reaching out to retailers, to consumers, and we have a lot of cool collectibles and stuff planned in the future too.
A lot of stuff planned.
Yeah,
It's funny, Rick. It's crazy to think like, okay, I grew up in the '80s and the '90s as I'm growing up, and you're one of the most popular wrestlers ever. Somehow, you might be more popular now than ever before. Are you sensing that too? Which is crazy to even think.
Yeah, I do feel that. This last match thing, when they first brought it to me, I thought, I don't know. But when we sold out the fairgrounds in 21 hours, 5,000 people, I said, okay, this might be pretty cool.
Got it.
Yeah, we're selling merchandise like crazy. I was skeptical, not skeptical, try it, and it gave me a goal to get back in really good shape. But you're out when you throw your name out there, you're either going to make it or you're not. So the only thing that can mess this up right now is if I didn't perform at a high level. So that's what I'm focused on. That's why James and Kelly does a lot of stuff with me over. She travels through all the signings I have and counts and makes sure that everything is run the right way. But she and James are basically running the comic book stuff while I get ready for the match, and then we're all gonna hopefully have a great weekend.
How is the training going? I see some stuff with Jay Lethal popping up here and there, which is great.
Oh, it's better than that. I just had, I had to get over the anxiety of taking my first bumps, with the pacemaker, and then I've got blood thinners, and but I embellished when I said 4 records. I have talked to 4. So I just took the opinion I liked the best.
It was funny when you said that. I'm buddies with Kevin Sullivan. You're a good friend, and he's like 40 doctors. What do you go to 39 that didn't want to deal with him?
No. You don't realize this. This is medicine. I in 2018 I had 4 heart operations in 7 weeks. Right, wow. 4 different doctors. So who do you believe? Everybody's got a different theory on what I can do and what I can't do. So the first guy says I can't go skiing. I can't go. Told me never to go above 10,000 feet. So I went to Vail, went to 20,000 feet. I went skiing. I fell down skiing. I fell down on the ice skating. So if I can do that, I can wrestle. And I'm drinking again. So, which I'm never supposed to be doing. So, it's easy to blame any aspect of what I've been through on what could happen, but it's not. I'm not worried about it now. Does that make sense? And I'm just having fun, and I'm enjoying the competition it creates within myself, and just want to show off. That if I can do it at 73, and I'll be better fundamentally than 85% of the roster in either company. I'm not talking about flying off the top rope now, but punching, kicking, psychology of wrestling, I'll be better than that in 85. I got another month and a half to train. I won't go in there not ready.
I'm curious, and I talked to Hulk not that long ago, and I asked him, like, okay, who's the GOAT? Who, what's the legacy of Hogan? And he was saying, it kind of depends on the fans, but I'm just curious, you in your mind, what is your legacy? Like, we're talking comic books. They're making comic books. You're a big life superhero, probably the greatest talker of all time, probably the greatest worker of all time. I mean, these are my opinions, but what's your opinion? What is the legacy of Ric Flair?
Well, it changes every day, but what am I trying to say? My legacy would be entirely different after the 31st. Right now, if it's just I was a great wrestler, hard to ever say I was going to be the greatest. I think Shawn Michaels is the best in-ring performer. I think Hulk and Steve Austin are the 2 biggest stars of all time. And I'm based on who drew the most money in their time frame. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's how that's how you determine who you get star. It's the guys that put the asses in the seats. So I certainly was that person in my time, bro. That's, late 70s, 80s, and now we're talking 2022. So if we're sold out in Nashville, we haven't got announced to my partner, then I sold out again, or who I'm wrestling. So that's what matters. It's not the money anymore. I've got that. It was a challenge, and having people believe in me, and now I have Enthusio and Triller involved. It's a big deal, and I've almost all my celebrity friends, from Jim Harbaugh to Ryan Clark. I'm not sure right now about Mike Tyson, but Pete Rose, Mike Tyson. I mean, all my celebrity friends are coming. It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be more than cool, actually.
It's pretty awesome, Mike Tyson. Yeah, I saw that he's coming to the roast of Ric Flair. It's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Are you nervous about guys roasting you like Tyson and DDP and all these guys?
I got more shit on them than they got on me. That's my 30 for 30. I told on myself. They haven't told on themselves yet. When you're told on yourself, there's nothing more to do.
Yep.
I'm not married, so I can't get divorced again.
Very true. Yeah. Now, I'm just curious, though, because we were talking about the Horsemen before. My favorite is you, Arn, Chris Benoit, and Pillman. Also, another awesome one is you, Arn, Tully, and Barry. Do you have a favorite Horseman?
That's it right there.
Why that one?
Okay. Because I feel at that time, in all fairness, we were four of the top 10 best workers in the business. And JJ will be always considered one of the top 5 managers, along with Cornette and Bobby Heenan, and JJ was great. I'm trying to think. Cornette, Bobby Heenan. Everybody's gonna have a different thought process on that, but JJ in his time frame was as good as there was.
And they always say the 4 best workers in the world were, at that time, were all together in a group. Like and
we could all talk and work.
Yep.
And we were friends. We got along. There was nobody jealous of anybody. You know what I mean?
Yep. James, do you have a favorite Horseman?
Oh gosh, I think. I want to say the same. Barry, Tully, Arn, and Rick.
Barry Windham was really.
Yeah, that was like at the height. Yeah, he was amazing. Like the feud that you had before him. So well.
He could go either way. He was great.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true that sometimes Tully and Arn would get jealous, but they're like, "Oh, we got to outwork Rick. Oh, we got a Rolex. We got to get we got to get a bigger Rolex." Is that your little competition, friendly competition?
It wasn't my competition. I was doing my own thing.
They're trying to catch up to you.
If they wanted to do it, it was no pressure for me. I was doing my own thing. Whoever got the group together, so I just didn't change. But I think the fact that those guys were so good, Arn and Tully, they should be individually in the Hall of Fame. If you're looking at the people they put in lately, Jesus Christ. We don't have a whole different subject, but me and Tully and Arn were great individual workers. So was Barry. He should be by himself. But you know how that goes. It's all politics.
Now, I have to mention this because I actually interviewed
50% ability, 50% politics.
Yes, absolutely. I actually did the last ever interview with Dusty Rhodes 2 days before he passed. So bittersweet, because I thought okay, we'd be doing more stuff together, more interviews and this and that. And all of a sudden he passed. Big focus of the interview was you and your relationship and your feud, arguably one of the greatest feuds ever, 2 of the greatest talkers ever. Just a little bit of a memory of Dust.
Well, he was the most charismatic, without even thinking about the most charismatic wrestler in the history of our business. And he was a genius. He came up with the Great American Bash. He came up with Starrcast. Those are all things that he thought of. The Bunkhouse Stampede. I mean, he came up with all these themes and theories. And he gave me my music, the Elvis music and Frank Sinatra music. I was coming out with The Sharp Dressed Man by Whitney Houston, or by the Pointer Sisters. I can't remember what. Anyway, and then he said, "No, you need that same stuff as Elvis." So, and we just drew. How many guys draw money against each other for 25 years? We never went to a building that wasn't sold out. We both cut ourselves every night. I mean, we sacrificed a lot more than we had to. And Dusty could, regardless of what people want to say about what they thought his condition was, I must have wrestled him 500-hour Broadways, hour draws. So if the town called for it and the promoter called for it, he could go. Make no mistake. And we had a lot of fun drinking too. So
What was it about him though in the ring that like you guys meshed so well? I mean, you pretty much can mesh with anybody. They always say you could wrestle a broomstick, but you and Dusty, it just seemed like louder crowds and better matches.
the epitome of arrogance against the plumber, or the what would you call it? The
Son of a plumber.
white collar versus blue collar. Son of a plumber.
Yep. Such
Well, all the
good
rest are out back and laughing and a joke, and me and Nate will be out front cooking and smoking. Why not pass by in a Cadillac? You only come through one time.
Yeah. I also got to mention
Big deal.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, because to me, those series of matches, the greatest matches. People are like, oh, Omega and Okada and Misawa Kawada and Brett Shawn, like, oh, you know, whatever. No way. Steamboat Flair is the best.
I can't even pronounce the names. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Nothing could touch me in Steamboat. I'm very confident saying that. He's the best babyface of all time. Better than anybody. Sean's a great babyface, and Sean's a better worker because he could go both ways. But as far as babyface, Steamboat was the epitome boy. Unbelievable.
What is it about your chemistry with him? Because literally it's magic.
Huh?
Just magic with you guys. Absolute magic.
He's a great guy. Yeah, he and handful of guys. He, Dusty, Sting. I'm trying to think who else I wrestled a lot. He, Dusty, Sting.
Hulk.
I love working with Hogan too. I mean, just Harley Race. I mean, just some guys were just special, and certainly Dusty and Steamboat were real special in my life because we were all in our prime at that time.
I love going back, and we're going back 30 years. It's 1989 here, but I love going back and watching those matches. They hold up. They're better than matches today. You and Steamboat.
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding? If I was 35 years old right now, they wouldn't be able to afford me. And boy, they need help with the ratings now, both of them.
Yeah, big time.
Those written down interviews, you can tell a mile away whether the kids feel it or not. It's a lot of pressure to read something that doesn't actually come out. You don't actually think, or don't actually feel in your heart. And that's a big difference. I mean, you can tell when the guys really take off because they're taking what they've been handed to memorize, and then they put some emotion into it. But that's just talking generically today and it doesn't sell tickets.
Do you think
when The Rock comes back to Russell Roman, that'll sell tickets. When Steve Austin came back, that sold tickets. And I mean, it's just a different time frame. I mean, the talent is great. Make no mistake, they're great. There are some great wrestlers. Orton, my daughter, Sasha Banks, AJ Styles. Like there's a list of great. About 10 between the two companies, but the events sell themselves now as much as the wrestlers do. Because I don't think they turn them loose enough, but I know it's want to make sure they get the right advertisers. Everybody's got to be happy. It's a whole different world, but I still love it. I just feel like the guys that are really great, like Randy and my daughter, and they're held back because they only want them to go that far. Does that make sense?
Yep.
They don't want anybody to become The Rock again. It's going to walk off. They don't want anybody to become John or Steve that can say, I don't want to do it. And there's, you know what I mean? It's like back in the day with Hulk. Hulk said, yeah, he did it. Or Hulk said, no, you wouldn't do it. So, but he had that kind of power. I don't know if that's healthy, but Vince won't let that happen again. He's not going to let anybody get in a position where they can say, hey, see you. So, and I understand it. It's business.
Do you think also like there's no larger than life characters? There's it's too scripted. Do you think like that just all plays into the fact that everything is down compared to your era?
No, I think God, I think Roman's larger than life. I think my daughter's larger than life. I think Randy Orton's larger than life. I think AJ is larger than life. They got a number of people. But they don't let them get larger than they want them to get. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
There's never been a better worker, period, in the company than my daughter. But they're going to keep her in check. They keep everybody in check now. They're not going to let this situation get out of control where they can't. Somebody walks off and all of a sudden, wow, how do you replace them? You know what I mean? Because the talent is limited these days. You just don't, like, they just signed, I heard 70 new guys, college athletes. Out of that 70, I bet 2 of them make it. It's a different business. Being a good athlete in college, you got nothing to do with being a wrestler. Time away from home, sacrifice. 3 days a week, you're from noon to midnight. I mean, it's a lot. Telling your wife goodbye. Nothing like it was in my day when I leave for 6 months. Hell, I didn't even know I was even married. Tell Sheila, I love her. Sheila's not your wife's name. Oh, that was last week. I mean, no, but when you're gone from home for 6 months, you forget what the hell's going on. We didn't have cell phones back then. Thank God.
I was about to say it's a good thing and a bad thing.
What's that song I called The Hotel? And they said, what's that song that Kid Rock sings? And they called The Hotel and asked where it was. And Sheryl Crow sings it.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yes.
They just played it.
I used to tell the people that run this when I checked in, I'm not here. But he calls, say, who?
You got to check in under an assumed name. Yeah.
No, couldn't do that. I wanted anybody that was in the bar looking for me to know I was there, but
True. Yep.
I don't need anybody from Charlotte to know more bad. This is an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any regrets in the business at all? Anything you regret?
Yeah, I regret now that I didn't spend more time at home, and nobody's going to understand I couldn't. When you work in this business and 2 of your kids live in Minneapolis and the NWA doesn't cover Minneapolis, that's the AWA. And I saw them in the summer and that was it. And then when they were with me, they traveled with me. I didn't have days off. When I was a world champion from 81 to like 88, I probably averaged maybe 2 days off a year. Twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. That's it. I mean, Australia, Tokyo, Singapore, back to St. Louis, over to Chicago, back to Tokyo. I'd be in Tokyo 1 week a month.
Wow.
You can't and you can't take you out either because they're making money and they need to make money. They need you.
You're on the marquee. You don't make work, boy. I'm telling you, it was the end. So I'm lucky. I only missed 1 shot and all the time I was a world champion. But I had 104 fever, and I just finally said, which I've wrestled with before, but 104 fever, you can't even keep your balance. And I just said to the guy, I told the guy, I said, Eddie, I'm not coming. I can't do it. And actually I felt bad saying it, but I wanted to spend a day home with my family, especially when I was sick. I didn't go back the only time.
Do you think you're the greatest NWA champion of all time? At least I know we're saying GOAT is kind of a different. Do you think you're the greatest NWA champion? At least, got to be, right?
Most colorful. not the greatest. No. Pretty hard to say anybody's better than Harley Race. I got to go with Harley Race on that note. And Harley Race was the world champion. Make no mistake. And he made it very clear to everybody in every bar, every night, every town we went to. He knocked the quarters off the pool tables. I got the winner. One night he slammed Andre, suplexed him, and Andre kicked out on 2. I'm watching this. I never saw anything like it in my life. This was before Andre was with New York. This is when he was traveling around, right? So I go over to Harley and I go, like a mark. I go, Harley, did you ask him before? Did you ask him if you could do that to him? Ask him what? I said, big man, slam, suplex, kick out on 2.5. Why would I ask him anything? I'm Harley Race. But shit, I was seeing it in bars too.
Wow.
So you think of that fucking tough wrestler. You know, he's left-handed with that iron bar in his hand, right? You know about that, right? From the car wreck that killed him. Yeah. This thick from here to here to his wrist. He almost lost his arm. This thick a piece of metal, that wide, right here, right? Say smoke and someone say something smart to him. Are you sure you want to ask that question? Yeah, you phony wrestler. Okay. Womp. I mean, move their face.
Wow.
Space and time. Then headbutt the guy next to him and the shit was on.
Wow. I've heard he's knocked out 2 guys with 1 punch. There's a guy in front of him and a guy behind him, and he elbow.
No, what he hit, he had a hit like a cement block. He knocked the one guy who was standing 5 feet away. He about killed the first guy. When he still stuck with his hand, right? When he said phony wrestler, he hit him and the guy behind him, bam, completely demolished his nose. And then he grabbed the guy and turned around, headbutt him, broke his nose. Both of them laying there covered.
Oh man!
And he ordered a beer. Another beer, please. He took it from the girl and Ric, you have no idea. A little different atmosphere than today in the locker room.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Leon, you big fat baby, get off your fat ass. That's what they played to Vader.
Wow.
Can't imagine anybody talking to Vader like that. Yeah.
See, these are just the great stories that like we're turning into like comic book fact and fiction. You know, just all of
you guys are not short for Harley Race.
Yeah.
He took this guy that thought he was tough into a bathroom in Kansas City, and when the guy came out, he had no hair. He pulled all his hair out. I mean, big patch.
Wow.
The guy walked out, he looked like one of the Three Stooges. Patch here, patch there, patch there. Harley pulled all his hair out.
Wow.
Yeah. I got 1,000 more for you.
I love it. But James, give us one last big push for codename Ric Flair, the Ric Flair comic.
So we have ash cans available right now, which an ash can is, it's basically the origin story, how he got his special powers to become a secret agent. And it's 14-page preview. We have 3 different versions. The normal version, I'm not sure if people can see this, but it's a spot holofoil, limited 300 copies. And then we did what's very popular in comics is this metal version. But one thing we also have is because of our relationship with the printer, we got the printer plates, these one-of-one collectibles, and Rick was nice enough to sign. This is the cover. There's a yellow, magenta, cyan, or blue, and black. But we're the day of his last match, we're launching a Kickstarter for the full issue #1. It's Magic 8 Ball is the mission that he goes on. And like we said earlier, it's like, what's fact, what's fiction? Only Rick knows. So yeah, real excited about it. Again, this is hopefully one of many. And with Kelly and Rick, it's a lot of fun. And we're really excited to finally bring this forward. You can get it at ricflaircomic.com.
We're very excited. I just have to tell you one more, John.
Yes.
Let's say hypothetically that Harley walked in here right now.
Yeah.
And I introduced him to Kelly, and then Kelly went home, right? She lives in B Tower, in 2 different buildings.
Yep.
Ricky, tell me more about Kelly. It's the first thing you'd say to me.
Not about the comic book?
About the comic.
What are you doing? Hey, you be ashing on this.
The last time I saw Harley, he was wheelchair bound. He was at an autograph signing in Philly.
Yeah.
Still had that grip, whatever.
Oh my God.
And I was with
Yeah, he'll never lose that. He's a different cat.
it's like almost like a bear claw. You know what I mean? Like
But,
you got to strengthen your hand when he gives you that handshake, or he's going to break it.
He had a double tendon strength. Yeah, he was. And so I mean, he should have died 3 or 4 times. In different related accidents that he was in. He was just a very tough guy. I was there at the end, and I was at the funeral, thank God. But it's hard to think anybody could ever be called better than Harley Race, in my mind.
Except you, maybe. In my mind, it's got to be you. But
Thank
Ron, I was with Ron Garvin that day. Another guy you had awesome matches with.
you.
And
We
those-
beat the shit out of each other too.
those
Ron.
chop fests were great.
Yeah, how's he doing?
He was doing very good. He actually seems like he's still in great shape because I think he's maybe
Oh,
he's a little
always
bit older than you, but he seems like he's in great shape as well.
Yeah, good for him. Good guy.
But I said, hey, do you think you could take Harley? I meant like in his prime, but he looked at him. He goes, I still couldn't take him, even if he's in a wheelchair.
Nobody. Share it this way. If Harley could bite, move his hands or anything, he wasn't afraid to bite you either.
Oh man.
No.
But I love how the comic is coming out right around when Starrcast and Jim Crockett Promotions and Ric Flair's last match, it all is kind of coming together. Your merchandise through the roof, everything that Conrad Thompson, of course, your son-in-law, Connie, as I affectionately call him, he's got so much good merchandise stuff. So, I mean, the roast, your last match, Starrcast, the merch, you got it all going on, and the comic book. You got everything going on right now.
I'm very excited. Thank you.
Rick, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, James. But, of course, thank you to the great, the greatest of all times, the GOAT, Nature Boy.
Take your time, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, James.
Yeah, no problem.
Woo!
I had to hear. That's awesome.
Thank you.